Welcome everyone. I see that most of us have already walked around and seen some of the art, but take your time. This is the Home Church Art Show. So 5 artists from the Home Church have contributed their art to this lovely display around the room. So take your time to look at the art, help yourself to tea, coffee, water and snacks, and a little bit later, soon, I'll be calling us all back to take a seat, and then we'll hear from each of the artists. So, ladies and gentlemen, time to take your seats so we can start to hear from the artists about their work. I just wanted to say something about creativity because I was thinking about how the divine is the creator. I mean, so anything that we do with creativity in our art or in our music, or whatever art form that we're involved in, to me helps with the concept of being in the image and likeness of the divine, that in creating what we create, really it's the divine creating through us, and we are imaging the beauty and the functionality of all that the divine creates. And so that's why I'm fascinated to hear the process that each artist is going to talk about, their creative process, because to me that shows how the divine works through each one of us to bring about the beautiful things that I display. And, you know, beyond that, the beautiful things that fill the world. So I would like to invite Linda Simonetti-Odner up to talk about her work, which is the collage collection over here to the side.
All right, it sounds like the microphone's working. Everyone can hear me? When Rosalind suggested this, I thought it would be a great idea, and I'm really grateful to have an opportunity to display my work and talk about it a little bit. I'll start by saying that I studied illustration at Parsons School of Design. That's 45 years ago now. And illustration is, of course, putting pictures to words, mostly. And I've always loved the marriage of words and pictures. And so that's what the collages are about. 3 years ago, when Liz and I started putting up excerpted inspirations on the Deborah's Tree blog, at first I was just, I'll choose the quotes, and Liz, you can format them. Excuse me. And Liz started putting up amazing pieces of art to go with them. And I was like, well, you don't have to do that. But she seemed to really want to. And it got to the point where she was doing a lot. And I thought to myself, this past year, I thought, you know, I could do more of the art. And for various reasons, I hit on the idea of using collage as a medium. I'd been doing a little bit of collage in other areas. And I thought, well, what about collage as an illustration medium? So It would be an exaggeration to say I didn't know I had it in me, but this particular body of work, which this just represents some of the better ones, it's new for me, and at my age, that feels pretty wonderful. So I would like to talk about a little bit about some of the individual pieces, but I also want to add that. As I said in my artist statement over there, the collage process has helped me get over a kind of perfectionism that was inhibiting me. And so, like, the stuff isn't perfect. It's not all polished and a little rough around the edges. And I use glue sticks to put it together, so sometimes the bits fall off. But and sometimes the shape isn't quite rectangular, but Liz has been able to clean up some of those things on the blog. So one of the first collages I did for Excerpted Inspirations was the one on the left, which is called Angel Baby, and it's about a woman. This is a true story that Dorothy Hanfield tells about her great-grandmother who had a stroke, was never ill until she had a stroke, and she lay on her deathbed for 4 days and must have thought that she had a baby with her. That was why we would be in bed, is because you had just had a baby. And so she would act as if she had a baby with her. So I thought, well, let's just make a picture of that baby. That baby is the spirit helping her to the other world.
Very nice.
And I used some of the specialty paper that I'd gotten from Liz, and I was like, I kind of like this. I kind of like the process. I like the result. And so I started doing more of that. And let's see. Another of the early The Night of the Sea Fire from the Sheldon Van Auken book, Severe Mercy. And there was another piece that goes with it with the stars, but I didn't like the way it turned out, so it's not here. I just did the phosphorescence. And so it's a combination of collage and drawing with gel pens. And I kind of like the way that turned out too. But as I've moved forward, I've gravitated more toward pure collage, to do whatever I can rendered in cut paper, which can be quite a challenge. And yet when I do succeed, it's so worthwhile. And it feels like, collage feels like there's a substantial quality to it. Like, it's not realistic and it's not a photograph, but there's a quality of reality to it that I really gravitate to. So, and another one of the early ones is the one from Black Beauty by Anna Sewell, about Jerry Barker being offered a half-crown for taking someone to the train quickly because they were late.
Not there.
And
No,
not
it's there.
taking it.
It's the small middle one,
It's the small one next to the
next to the ocean waves, yeah.
yeah.
There you go. Okay. Oh, that's so
I think
nice.
it's been folded up, but
Yeah.
and I actually went online and Google imaged half a crown from the era of when the story was written, and then drew it in pencil. And so that's a combination of collage and drawing. And also, I love bright colors and busy patterns. But when I restrain myself and tone it down and channel the inner Andy Wyeth in me, it really pays off. Like the subtle colors, the neutral colors. And that's what I also got, the subtle and the neutral colors when I did the one about the toy train in the sand pile. I got my tunnel fixed. And that one has not appeared yet in Excerpted Inspiration, so like that's an advance of
Upcoming.
the future. And then I was working on the one for The Water Was Red with Them, with the maple leaves falling on the water. And this quote is actually about the heroine, Sylvia's mother, takes her down to the swimming hole so they can watch the leaves fall on the water because something very upsetting has happened. And the mother wants herself and her daughter to be able to calm themselves. And the mother doesn't say a word, which is so restrained. She just takes her daughter by the hand and takes her down to the swimming hole and they watch the leaves fall. And so I have those wonderful cricket cutouts from Liz. I had leaves in different colors. And then I thought to myself, I have all these ellipse templates from my father-in-law that he gave to me before he died. And I thought, if I used ellipses and combined them with the leaves, it would make it look as if the leaves were falling on the water and creating rings. And what the way it turned out is not realistic. It doesn't actually look like leaves falling on water, but it suggests that. And I love the gold color, and I tried really hard to be restrained about using the gold color. So I have bright colors, but it's a narrow color palette, which I think really pays off. So another one of the ones that I did, it's on the other table, is called Questions Are Beautiful. And I made that mostly with calendar pages. It's like, so I thought to myself, Marilyn Robinson was talking to the interviewer, David Marchese, about how, no, she doesn't have answers as she gets older to life's questions. But questions are beautiful. And I thought, how could I make a picture that expresses that? I thought, well, I'll make some question marks and cut them out of calendar pages and like create the borders so that you can see the question marks. And I put that together and it went so quickly. And I thought, this is cheating. I'm using the calendar pages with the calendar picture. So it's not really my work 100%. But it's like, that's something I can let go of. And because it's just, it's for exerted inspirations, and I'm not presenting it as, I did this by myself with no help. It's like, it's part of a process. Liz's cut out shapes and the calendar pages and the garden catalogs and the wrapping paper. It all just combines into something that's more than the sum of its parts. So I really enjoyed that one. It's like, oh,
More than some.
it's been a lot of fun, I have to say. And I wanted to also mention Shoes for Calvin. That's,
Other two.
do you want, oh, am I good? Okay, oh, three, oh, I got it, okay. So Shoes for Calvin, I especially was pleased with that one because it's pure collage and it has a simplicity to it and it's got a composition. Some of the others are a little haphazard composition wise, but that one actually has a composition to it. And just the idea of creating a picture of a pair of shoes. Like, I wouldn't have thought of making a pair of shoes or making a bunch of question marks if I hadn't had the words to inspire me. So that really manifests the power of words and pictures together, which is, oh,
What were the words?
the words, oh, for Shoes for Calvin. Well, Calvin says to Meg that the principal that she hates, Mr. Jenkins, gave him his first pair of decent shoes. He saw Calvin walking around in a pair of thrift store shoes, ladies' shoes with the toes cut out so he could stuff his feet in them, brought him to his office and said, I noticed that you've outgrown your shoes and I have a pair that I thought would fit you. And it said in the quote that he had gone to trouble to make them look used, because he hadn't actually bought them for him. And I thought of actually making the other shoes, the thrift store shoes, and I thought, no, I just want to make the good shoes. And so I thought that paid off. And I just wanted to say, oh, one more thing. Oh yeah, purgatory. The purgatory one it's about a woman who is full of bitterness, resentment, and anger. And she has left her family members to go off and live the life she wants to live. And the passage talks about how the embers of the fire of her resentment has died down to embers, and it's like the leaves off of the trees. And somehow, even though when you look at it closely, it's a little wonky, it sort of hits the spot in terms of the mood of the quote. And if you look closely, you can see where I picked off the leaves and tried it over again. And it's sort of like, well, this is the woman's process of getting past her anger and resentment as a fuel for her life. So I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. In a way, it's better than being perfect. Yeah. So thanks for your interest in my work, and I will introduce my husband Dewey, who has some prints right next to mine. Thank you.
Good morning. I just have 2 images that I'm showing today. I have lots more at home, but these are images that I made on my computer. I programmed the computer to calculate a formula, and it results in a fractal image.
Are you gonna show them?
And
No.
Yes. Can I just screen? We'll talk about this one first.
I'll talk about the other ones first.
Thank you to Lori, who is our Vanna White today. She used to flip the letters on the game show. I'm old.
It's very large. I'm not.
I have
Yeah.
a formula that defines a fractal set,
Oh, look at that.
and I zoom into a very tiny part of it.
Oh,
And what I find is a surprise. This image is entitled, "Of Course." It's it's a sarcastic title.
wow.
I don't know why this picture looks the way it does. Why the images have those forms. It's exploring a mystery. I find it to be a great mystery why it's the way they are.
So what is it titled?
Of course.
I'm gonna try it on this camera so we don't get glare from the light.
Okay.
Oh, magic that.
Yep, there
Where
you
did it come from? Are you, your mind, or are you looking at something?
Or-
And
The equation?
use an equation, programmed it into the computer.
Do you tell us what the equation is? It's a, it's a, it's
Yeah.
a physics equation, right?
Well,
What
it's a
kind of equation?
mathematical- It's a mathematical equation. It's,
Mathematical.
but it's involves complex numbers, which are, in my artist statement, I have a little blurb about complex numbers, you can read it. But Z is a complex variable, and I compute the function Z squared times the absolute value of Z to the power of 2p, where p is a parameter that I choose, plus C, which is a constant that depends on the position in the image. Anyway, I iterate that formula, and it gives me a color for each pixel in the image.
You can tell them it's more vivid than the camera is showing.
Yeah, it's more vivid than the camera is showing.
But does the equation live in the world?
It lives in ideal platonic reality.
Ah, ideal what?
Platonic reality.
Photonic reality.
Platonic reality. Okay. Cool. Want to show the other one?
Yeah, the other one is titled In Tentacle. And that title is partly sarcastic because the intent part is the only intent I have is to explore the mystery of why the tentacles come in to make it in tentacle the way it is.
They do look like tentacles.
So my theme is questions are beautiful. That's
Questions are beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
I'm tipping it so that the colors show.
Yeah. Could you put it straight though? There you go. Thank you.
Did Linda do questions are beautiful too?
Linda did questions are beautiful, yeah.
As a collage.
As a collage, and I did it as a computer fractal.
That's so cool.
I think there's
Dewey,
something.
I thought you were doing this by swirling paints on water and dipping. Because I've seen that done. It's fascinating to me that you're doing with mathematical formulas. Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you. So who's next?
I'm going to take advantage of Liz getting the camera set up for the next presentation, which will be hers, to ask Dewey another question, if you can handle that. When you compose these formulas, do you randomly compose them and then see what happens? Or do you have something directing your formula composure to create a certain effect that you're pretty sure is going to happen from that formula?
I don't know what's going to happen, but I have some clues.
So you have an idea of what might result, and then you check it, and then you try again, maybe? Or
Jerry should answer it into the microphone so we can get
So I actually, there was a famous fractal discovered by Benoit Mandelbrot. And it's based on a simple formula. And mine is an extension of his.
Thank you.
I added the parameter. And I just changed the parameter to see what happens.
Okay,
Do it?
thank you.
So I don't know anything about math or anything, but I did take courses with Kenneth Rose. And my only thing I know is about, he threw this, the chalk up and it came down, and that was a formula. So that whole idea of numbers being
Graphable.
being what?
Graphable.
Parabola, okay, parabola.
Graph, you can put the word
Parabolas.
Parabola.
Parabola, okay. That whole idea between a number and art is huge. And that's what you're into, is that right? You're taking numbers and doing what Swedenborg did. Okay, I'll just say that.
Okay, I think we're ready for Liz now. Thank you, Dewey.
Exploring the mystery that comes out of the numbers.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Liz Cuffs. I'm looking at the nonsense artist statement I was writing in the middle of the night last night.
Mhm.
I think it's quite verbose, so I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to try to summarize. I assist Linda putting up the excerpted inspirations on the Deborah's Tree blog page, and I think if you had ever asked me if I was going to be an artist when I grew up, I would have said I would love to be an artist when I grew up, but everybody wants me to figure out how to have a day job. So I unfortunately spent a lot more time on my education pursuing various day jobs that all went away because of the advent of computers. And now with AI, maybe art will, alas, go that way too, but I hope not. I studied foreign languages, and they got Google Translate, and I studied to be like a tenured professor, and then they all made them into adjuncts, so now everybody is an adjunct, and nobody can get paid. And then I did art, and they invented AI. So think of something you want ruined, and I'll pick that for my next career choice. Anyway, since I was little, I always had this feeling of disconnect between the Bernathen Swedenborgian culture and the wider world. And I always wanted there to be something, which I didn't know the word for it when I was little, but what I wanted to see on the TV was people like me having discussions that I might hear in the place where I grew up. And that has a word now, and the word is representation. So it can be difficult, even if you're in like a gender or a racial majority. So one of the things I studied while I was not getting a day job was sociology. And so all these thoughts come to my head. One of the things that is hard is when you are in a religious minority. That can be a minority too. And I grew up and I never saw any Swedenborgians on TV or in commercials or on movies. And I thought that was terrible. And I noticed that, this may be the unpopular part of my talk, that people around me liked it that way in some respects. They didn't have a lot of trust for the world outside the quote unquote bubble. Sometimes there was sort of like a prejudice, like, oh, the people outside of here are, from those other churches that aren't as awesome as ours, whatever. So I thought from a young age that what I really wanted was for us and the world, for us to be known in the world for something positive. Like if you think of the way religions are known in the world, we have like Quakers, and they do all these peace things, and they have peace vigils, and they support people getting along with each other. And then you think of like another religion that is less peaceful or more sort of commercial, that starts with a science, maybe ends with ontology, but I don't know if I should put this on the internet because they are also very litigious. So they're known for sort of like a different thing in the world. And so when I was in college, my mentor, Jane Williams Hogan, had this goal, like, we're gonna get Swedenborg out into the conversation. And what she meant was like an academic thing, like we're gonna write papers and books and like other smart people are gonna read this. And what I meant was, I want us to be in a movie. But I've also learned that I want us to be like accurately represented in a movie, because I don't know if you guys all saw this movie. Who has the name? Yeah, I did write the name. It was a scary movie. It had ghosts.
Yeah, I forget what it was called.
And Swedenborgians were doing seances. Things heard and seen. I knew it was in here somewhere. And I thought, oh no, Swedenborgians doing seances. That didn't happen when I was growing up. So I realized it has to be accurate representation. It can't just be, or accurate, and hopefully also in like a positive light for the things that we love. So with that long, boring introduction, you can now, I'll have my lovely assistant hold up some cards that are places around Bernathen. I did try to make them actually sort of look like places that exist. I think that's the post office, right?
Yeah.
This is my Buildings and Birds series of Christmas cards, which is just what it sounds like.
Birds.
There's they're postcards and they're birds, or they're cards, they're not postcards. That's the Swedenborg Library and birds.
Oh, what a great idea.
And I can't show all of them. That's from the academy, the girls' school and birds. And I also did, so after that I did a series of church service cards. And I went around to observe all the Swedenborgian church services that happen sort of in the general area of Bernathen. And that's the Young Children's Church in pink and the Ivyland Church in green. And I did quite a lot of those. I was working on a calendar that got a little bit derailed by the pandemic. Yeah, that was the home church. And that is the cathedral service. One thing I will say is people sometimes want to know, like, who was your artistic influence? And I have to embarrassingly admit that it's a geeky thing, because as a child, I had a brother who played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, which meant that I eventually played Dungeons and Dragons. And they had this one artist named Tony Dieter Lisi, who does the Spider Chronicles, and he came out with a book entitled Realms, the role-playing art of Tony Dieter Lisi. And if you ever have wanted to know, like, a little more about how to be a professional artist, and about meeting deadlines, and about making art out of, like, markers and just random stuff that you have because you have no budget to buy anything. And also the most important technique that I learned from that book was reference art. I definitely recommend it, even if you've never played a game and you don't know what a dragon is. Okay, I have 3 minutes. Okay, so I use reference art all the time, which is or reference pictures all the time, which is you walk around town and you take pictures of everything. And then if you happen to be a person who can't just look at something and draw it, like if you need a picture of it, then you have it. And in the digital age, this is one good piece of news for artists, because this is easier than ever to do. So I would highly recommend, if you're like, I can draw flowers, but I can't draw garbage trucks. You know, like, I might need, the thing with Linda's inspirations is there could be anything in that quote. So you have to have a plan for how to address it, and that's mine. So my future dreams are that I hope we can continue doing excerpted inspirations, and someday I hope that Swedenborgians have our own, I don't know if I should say the title of this book is controversial now, but like Harry Potter, right? Like our own really popular thing that children and the outside culture can take from us and love it. And also, if you are feeling a little nervous about art, I will say that I do lots of digital art. I've put 2 of my paintings back there. One is of Swedenborg, and it's called The Remote Views of Manuel Swedenborg. And it's one of the few paintings that I have painted the whole thing just on a canvas and not immediately scanned it and just digitally altered it. Because normally I'll paint about to the part where, my mother was holding up that picture and decide that I've had enough of paint and I want to scan it and finish the rest digitally. But that one and the other one next to it, which is called The Garden of My Mind, also painted with a reference shot of my garden in the backyard. Those 2 were painted in acrylics, which I can afford. because they're not expensive like oil paint. And they were not, they have been scanned in since, but they exist as originals. One thing about being a digital artist is often people are like, oh no, there's no original, or it has to be a NFT, which I never figured out how to use. So, but this, yeah, the garden of my mind is for me and my dad, because we have had a lot of fun over the years making a garden, even though it never came out quite that perfect. I like to paint things just a little better than they often are. So I will probably do that in the future. That's all. Sorry. I took too long.
Who's up next?
Okay, I think next is Paige. Yay.
Thank you, Liz. Session where we're to talk about kind of our spiritual, inspirational influences on our art.
There you go.
And I have several. On the left-hand side of the table, you can see my calendars. And so I've done a calendar, and I've done a talk here on my calendar process over the last 20 years. Calendars are part of my goal to bring the world closer together. So the cover has, we've evolved in the last 5 years to picking a theme word. And the theme word for this year is resilience, which we picked last December. Little did we know kind of how important resilience would be when we got to 2025. And each year, all these pictures are mine that I've taken around the world, and we make I do translate it. I have all these friends around the world because I've been in my business. Let me back up a minute. I've started an art business to support this global nonprofit, FAMR, the Foundation for Advancement of International Medical Education and Research, that supports health professionals to learning to teach better and have the curriculum aligned with the health needs of the local area. And so I've been involved with that since 2020, since 2000. And so, so I have all these colleagues around the world that can translate for me. And Lori, if you can show that cover again, I just want to notice two things. One, if you see the word resilience at the top, see how long it is? That is translation in Burmese.
Wow.
And if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see a number of languages in India, Hindi, and several others. In India, I've learned that physicians have to learn 4 different languages in order to practice medicine adequately in India. And so you can see some of those languages. So, and then the inside of the calendar has, again, all of these photographs I've taken around the world, and each year I select quotes that deal with resilience. I particularly like this one of the Maya Angelou, the one you were just showing, the butterfly, about the resilience it takes for a butterfly to become a butterfly. So,
I want to talk about, mention that hotel on the front.
the cover, okay. The cover, we're back to the cover again. The cover is interesting in that this is resilience in a country called Qatar, which is in the Middle East, a small country that is totally desert. And this is a building that is shaped in their ceremonial sword, and it is a hotel. I know the Raffles is on one side. I think it's a Fairmont on the other. I'm not sure about that. I did not get inside. I wonder what on earth its hotel rooms are like inside. But I did see it from the outside. I had a FAMR, excuse me, I had a FAMR fellow who is working in the Qatar, and he and his family, his wife and 2-year-old son, toured us around that day while we were between planes. So that's when I saw that interesting, and it's more interesting architecture in that city. It's just absolutely amazing.
there is a children's museum that is like a package with a ribbon around it.
Oh.
It's just absolutely fascinating, and I just saw it on the outside. So this leads me into the multi-language cards that I've made. Again, this is again my goal to bring the world closer together. And I think it's important for us to begin to learn that the top languages in the world are Mandarin for Chinese, Hindi for India, Arabic for all the Arabic speaking countries. Spanish is the only one that is from Europe that is on that top list. And then we have English, and then we have so I think it's time to learn that we have many other languages than Italian's way down on the list. It's not on there. And German, I think, maybe 11th now. Okay. So Russian is 10th, I know that. And so these, I've made a complete line of greeting cards. This is happy birthday in a rainbow of colors. I have thank yous, happy birthday. Can you show the happy birthday one, which is on the one on the easel to the right is a beach. Right there. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's in the sand. Okay.
This one is special to me because I went down to Brazil for 12 years and for an institute we had in Brazil. And that is my I walked that beach many, many times with my cane, and so I created Happy Birthday with my cane, and then created the multi-language card from that.
Wow.
So one source of my inspiration is to bring the world closer together through languages, and again, like Linda, I love to put words and images together, so that I have a quote list that I keep and add to every year. Then on the right-hand side is another area of inspiration. You can show the butterfly that's right in the front. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Lori. Oh, it's beautiful. This shows another area of kind of spiritual inspiration. I do what I call our excuse me, photographic walks, kind of meditative walks. And I walked this field this became particularly important during the pandemic. And I walked the field behind Carewood Village, where this is from, many, many times. And just, what's there to see? And what can I capture? And butterflies are not easy to capture. And I happened to get this one on a clover, this monarch, at a perfect time. You don't. So I don't worry about how many I don't catch. It's enjoying the process. And so that kind of epitomizes this walking photographic meditations. So that's another area. And finally, you can show the one right next to it. This is an example of one of my favorite images. Again, I can get involved in flowers, and it's a totally meditative process to just look at the beauty that God has put in front of us and all the different varieties. This is a proteus that I took in Cape Town, and I just thought that it looked so much like a birthday candles. And this also, so it's a meditative process, again, photographic meditation walk, taking pictures of flowers. But then I come back to my light room, and it's another meditative and artistic process. I highlight the flower and get it as clear and colorful and sharp as I want. And then I can reverse that and work on the background And so it's as if I'm painting with black pixels
Mm.
to go in between each of those parts of the flower. Takes a fair amount of time and dexterity, but I do like the effect that I can get. So those are just some examples, and I have another flower and butterfly for you to enjoy. I'm printing on metal, primarily now, metal and canvas. So they're just things. I like the modern look, and I've gotten beyond fragile frames. So those are just some examples. So thank you. I think the final one is a butterfly in Indonesia.
Wow.
I love
Different.
butterflies.
Totally different.
So neat. Thank you.
I'm going to wrap up this time of presentation. I think we're switching. Yeah. Okay. So I'm Ros Taylor, and I want to thank all the other people who've been up here and spoken about their process and their work. And of course I feel incredibly like an imposter standing up here saying I'm an artist, but that's just part of my process. I would say, referencing back to what I'd said earlier about the divine working through us, because the divine is the creative one, my creativity has primarily been through music. And then also needlework and sewing. I made my own wedding gown, designed it and made it. And and baby's baptized, a baptismal gown, a few things that really came out of me creatively. But sort of referencing back to what Linda said about, well, I didn't do it entirely by myself because I used fabrics that somebody else made. I used other, like for the wedding dress that I made, patterns that were other people had created and then worked out a way for them to fit together. So anyway, that I never really considered myself an artist in the sense of this art show until several years ago my daughter introduced me to the joys of graphic design. So I started designing stationery for people to buy online for weddings and retirements and baby showers. And I guess it's sort of along the lines, in a smaller way, of what Paige was talking about bringing people together in their social events that they, where they love to get together. Weddings, a very Swedenborgian concept. So let's just hold that one for a minute. For the display today, so how it works is I design a template that people can then put in their own information for their, for their event that they're having. I use graphics that I buy that other people, have created. This is a watercolor floral arrangement. I love the floral ones. I also do some minimalist designs that are very popular. Yeah, like here's the minimalist one. All right, but for this purposes of this show, I put in names and accurate dates for people that you might know. And you know who those are, Douglas and Christine. Parents, and that's actually, if they, back in the day when they got married in the 1950s, people didn't have wedding bunches after, but if they had had one, it would have actually been on May the 11th. Yeah. And they would have had the reception at the Brock home. Anyway, So that's so I was making up stories for this. I was using my creativity to, then I say the divine is exercising creativity, through this. Okay, here's a celebration of a retirement of our good friend Emmanuel Swedenborg. And so actually Reverend Stephen Cole has told me that the date is probably wrong on there. I picked when I don't know, when he started publishing the works
or something like that. But Stephen Cole told me it should have been when he stopped being a scientist, but whatever.
Oh,
There he is having his celebration. That graphic on there with the confetti is very, very popular. It was the first one I bought, and I immediately was started having great success using it on retirements. I've used it on weddings. I've used it for baby showers. I don't know, people like to celebrate, and I love to celebrate too, so it's a point of connection.
yeah.
I don't have too much else to say, but if you can just show them, thank you very much, Lori, one by one, and look, okay, that one would be good. A guessing game for people from the general church or from Bernathen. Whose wedding, double wedding is this an invitation to? Yep, one of them is.
Alden.
John and Gertrude Pitcairn, and Kara and Robert Glenn. Kara and Gertrude were sisters, and they had a double wedding at the Advent Society of the Advent, which was the Swedenborgian Church in Philadelphia. I had a lot of fun creating this. We saw Swedenborg, we saw Thurgood Marshall and his wife, which is historically accurate. And okay, that one.
Oh. A name on this one.
Oh,
Not very Abraham Lincoln.
Because the story is Abraham and Mary, going to be Lincoln, just went into the courthouse and got married on the spur of the moment. So, I mean, they'd been talking about getting married, but like they didn't have an actual wedding. But they did, that's all they had. So I imagined that maybe they would have had a reception, right, at this place in Springfield where they lived at the hotel. I did a little research where it would have been. So anyway, there we go. You're invited to celebrate their marriage at a reception.
The dress.
Well, they have a wedding dress, so that's an anachronism. And I don't think Swedenborg had one too. But because that's part of the template, so I just wanted you to understand that people can, reference their wedding website or whatever.
what's the name of your shop? Is it on Zazzle?
The store, here we go, a business card coming up, Queen Street Designs on Zazzle. It's really hard to find the individual stores on the Zazzle website, so if you wanted to look, you would Google Queen Street Designs Zazzle, and then you'll get there.
And I will say, and I've said this to my daughter Miriam, because she does this kind of work full time. And I squeeze it in between ministry and everything else. But I tell her it's my dessert. Like, I just look forward to doing this. I get into a lovely Zen kind of thing, like arranging the wording and the picking the font and the how the graphic's going to work, or what am I going to do with the colors and how can I adjust the colors, blah blah blah. Which the other artists in the room probably totally know what I'm talking about. It's just a wonderful place to get into where it feels like there's energy flowing through and creating something that on my own I certainly would never be able to do, but opening up to that spirit, it's amazing what comes out.
So we had a little time for questions or comments or anything else. Yes,
I
please.
just wanted to echo the feeling just in the zone that you're talking about.
For the sake of Zoom, Paige was just echoing the comment about feeling like you're in the zone when you're just
Oh, we have a Zoom question.
Yes.
Can we unmute Miranda? Yes,
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I don't have a question. I just not that I'm biased or anything, but the acrylic painting you did of the backyard, oh my gosh, I've been there, and the details, and like, yes, you did it in your own, like, way, your vision. It's like not exactly what is there, but like, I just love how I recognize, the Easter Island sculpture. I recognize like so many important pieces of the yard, and it was just oh my gosh, it made me like emotional to see it. And then also when I noticed Dad and you in the corner and there's like a cat, it just really was beautiful. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that it was really awesome. So I'm glad that you felt like you could do that painting and wasn't like, oh, nah, I give up. I'll just scan it and mess around then, because I just think it came out so beautiful. So
Okay.
I've also enjoyed looking at all this art. It's been really fun. Thanks, everyone.
Miranda is my sister, full disclosure.
And what was Miranda saying?
Miranda was saying that she appreciated the picture of my father and I in the backyard.
In short form, she recognized a lot of the elements of the garden picture. She has been there and seen it and appreciates it.
And I enjoy doing that, is making pictures of things that people love. Because I feel that's a connection and a way to get that feeling out to the bigger world.
Okay, good. I wanted to say, when I was able to finally fit an art class into my college career back in the 70s, I got one semester of drawing, live figure drawing. And at that time, in 1976, the professor had a great deal of contempt for what was a brand new field, digital art, and the creation of art using a computer. And we had a mainframe, and my senior year, people were encouraged to hook up to the mainframe from their dorm rooms with a monitor and a keyboard. And that was computers back then. By the end of that semester, which was my final semester of college, of undergrad, he did a digital art show. He'd been exploring it with a lot of contempt for the medium, and he eventually decided that it was actually an excellent way of making his art be what he wanted it to be, with an easy way to rectify mistakes or errors or misdirections of how the art was looking. And over the years since, I've followed him in the Alumni magazine, validating digital art as a true art form. It's not cheating, it's not, probably when they went from ochre pieces of rock to oil paints, somebody objected.
Yeah.
Because it's new and people object to new things. But it's been legitimized, and I think it's time we stopped kind of backtracking and apologizing and explaining. It's art. It just is art. And I'm fine with that. I wish I'd been able to take more art classes. He let me sit in on his summer session after I graduated, because I happened to still be in town. But it's very inspiring to see all this work. I'm so grateful to the 5 artists here today for sharing some of the ideas behind it and noticing how much the intent was carried out in the artwork. Good job, ladies.
Thank you for showing.
Yeah, thank you for being our assistant. We appreciate it.
For showing.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you're here, and take your time to look at the art more. There's coffee, tea, and snacks in the back, and wonderful people to chat with. Next month, the first Saturday, I think it's around the 3rd or the 4th of February, Reverend Charlotte Sullivan will be here talking about the restoration to the Swedenborgian Church in Wilmington and what that's been like. It's been a whole...
Would it be the 1st of February?
I don't really remember the date, but it's the first Saturday in February. And then by then I'll be in Australia, because I'm leaving on the 21st of January, so I'll be joining you remotely if I can stay up that late. It'll be like
You can
2
do
o'clock
it.
in the morning or something. We'll be in the sunroom for the. This is just a one-off being here in the dining room. So, and That's February, March. We'll have a Zoom presenter, which is Reverend Deborah, who will talk about what has happened to the Wayfarers Chapel in California, which is a Swedenborgian landmark, national landmark, which pretty much slid off the mountain because of a landslide, and so he'll be telling us that story. That's February, March. April, I'm hoping Jillian will talk to us, but we haven't finished lining that up. But in any event, we're going to continue, and then, in my absence, so, as we always do. So, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to the presenters.
Thank you for the Zoom